Hey guys, my name is Gabby, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be filming my September wrap-up. Sorry if you hear any strange noises coming from this side. There's a crazy ass windstorm happening outside right now. In the month of September, I read a total of 10 books, which amounted to this many pages. And so for number of genres I read 3 contemporary novels, 3 romance novels, 3 thriller novels, and 1 sci-fi. For number of ratings, I gave 2 5-star ratings this month. One of them was a reread. I gave 4 books 4 stars, 2 books 3 stars, and 2 books 2 stars. So, as usual, it was a pretty well-rounded month. Then male versus female authors, I only read 1 single male author, and then the rest, 9 of them were female authors. So, woo! Let's just jump right into this wrap-up, shall we? Yes! So the first book I read this month was an Unwanted Guest by Sherry Lapina. This is Sherry Lapina's newest mystery that just came out. This is a thriller mystery. It kind of reminds me of the game Clue because it's very much a whodunit story. The whole premise of the story is that all these people go to this motel, like this little inn, to stay during the snowstorm, and people start getting killed off one by one. And so you're just like trying to figure out who the killer is. That's why it reminds me a lot of Clue. And I was genuinely surprised by this. It was such a page turner. I was trying to figure out who the killer was. And I was surprised at the end. I wasn't able to guess who the killer was. And it was just a really fun time. I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. The second book I read this month was From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. This is the 3rd book by Mariana Zapata that I've read so far. I've always loved ice skating, but I've never actually read a book that revolves around like ice skating specifically before. This one follows this girl named Jasmine Santos, which is actually the younger sister of Ruby Santos from Dear Erin that I read last month. And so it follows Jasmine, and then it follows this guy named Ivan, who's like a world famous figure skater. He has like a huge reputation. He's like won all these championships. And then she kind of has like not the best reputation in the figure skating world. She's kind of like the Tanya Harding, but like with less violence, I guess. Ivan loses his skating partner for the season, so he has to get a new one, so he asked Jasmine to be his new skating partner. And so this is like a very hate to love romance because like they can't stand each other in the beginning, and there's so much tension, and they're like bickering all the time. I really loved reading about the ice skating though. I thought it was so much fun and so entertaining. But like as far as the story goes, I feel like these characters made cuter friends than lovers like towards the end. Like it was such a slow burn that it took so long for anything to happen between them, and then by the time it did, I felt like more like, whoa, they're friends. Like they just hadn't established like a romantic relationship really, you know? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but this one was still really cute, but I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. Like it wasn't my favorite, like most memorable romance ever. Third book I read this month was Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren, and this is Christina Lauren's new release. It just came out this month, and it's also one of my new favorites from Christina Lauren. If you don't know, they are one of my favorite authors. This is their new romance, and it follows this girl named Hazel who's this very like quirky, odd character, and she's not like quirky and odd in the way that some authors try to like force their characters to seem that way, but she actually seemed like genuinely so adorable and so quirky and so cute. And she's an elementary school teacher from Portland, Oregon, and so in a way she totally reminded me of Jessica Day from New Girl because she's so awkward and quirky and funny, and she's an elementary school teacher from Portland. Like, hello. And then Josh, her love interest, is Korean. They meet in college for the first time like many years ago, and she embarrasses herself in front of him so many times, and now 7 years later they meet again under unusual circumstances. Now they become instant best friends, and they start to set each other up on all these really bad blind dates, and they go out on all these double blind dates together, and it's just very entertaining as hell. And this is like one of those very cute, light, fluffy romances that just really makes you feel good, and it's like a light-hearted comedy. Yeah, it was just so good. And like seriously, if you just need a book that'll make you smile and like a really cute relationship book, then I highly recommend this one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and it was probably one of my favorites from Christina Lauren since Autobiography, so yeah, I fucking loved it. The 4th book I read this month was a reread, and that was Of You by Caroline Kepnes. This is one of my favorite books of all time, and I haven't read it since 2015, since the new TV show just came out of this on Lifetime. I watched the first episode of that, and I was like, oh my god, I need to reread this book. So I just reread this book, and oh my god, you guys, it is still a 5 out of 5 book for me. I just love it so much. If you don't know, this book is a thriller that takes place in New York, and it follows this guy Joe Goldberg who owns his bookstore. He has a bookstore, and then one day this girl named Beck comes in to get a book, and he kind of like instantly falls in love with her / becomes obsessed with her, and he reads her name off of her credit card when she goes to pay, and then he Googles her and like learns everything about her. He finds her address, he knows who her siblings are, her parents are, everything about her, and then he's able to start stalking her like really intensely, and he thinks that it's because he's protecting her and he's in love with her, and it's just fucking crazy, but it's like, it's so entertaining. And this book is written in like a second person point of view because he's like, you do this and you do that, like he's watching her. So I think You is the perfect title for this, and it's so unique because I've never read a thriller that's told in the second person point of view like this, and it just makes it even more creepy. But I just love Joe Goldberg so much. He's like my perfect kind of dark comedy because he's fucking hilarious as well. So good. Loved it. So the 5th book I read this month was Only Human, and this is the 3rd book in the Themis Files trilogy. That's the sci-fi trilogy that I've been reading. Unfortunately, this was my least favorite in the trilogy. I did listen to the audiobook for this one as well, and it was just very like disappointing, and I think the main reason why I've realized why I didn't like this one as much is because all of my favorite characters from the previous books died in the previous books, and so I didn't really like love any of the characters in this book, and because they spent a lot of this book not on Earth anymore. So it was like, it was all very like foreign and too sci-fi-y for me. They spoke a lot of this alien language in the book, so a lot of the audiobook was just like gibberish that I couldn't really understand, and it just kept like annoying me. And one of the main relationships in this book was like irritating the hell out of me. So still really love this series. I love the ideas behind it, and I love the mystery behind the whole thing. So I did end up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars still, but I do think that this was the most disappointing out of the 3 books, but I still would highly recommend the first 2 books like so much. They were so good. So the 6th book I read this month was Cross Her Heart by Sarah Pinborough. This was my September book of the month pick. Really excited to read this one because Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough was one of my favorite books of the year last year. Like, it's still one of my favorite thrillers ever. You can say my expectations were pretty high going into this one, and unfortunately they were very let down. This book follows this woman named Lisa who has this very mysterious past that you're trying to figure out, and then it also follows her 16-year-old daughter named Ava who has this mysterious secret relationship going on that her mom doesn't know about, and then it also follows Lisa's best friend Marilyn who has this secretly abusive marriage that Lisa doesn't know about. 3 different women, 3 different perspectives, 3 different like secrets that you're trying to figure out what's going on in the whole story. You know, the beginning of this was so boring. It was really hard for me to get into this. I just couldn't find any interest in the story. Like, it was really slow, and then once it did start to pick up after like the 100-page mark, I was like, oh, this is finally getting interesting. And then the final plot twist of this book was like literally one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life, and it was so unrealistic and just like, what? It was just bad, okay? I felt so sad about not liking this one, but it was just a hot mess, to be honest, so I'm very disappointed. And so I ended up giving this one 2 out of 5 stars. The 7th book I read this month was Evidence of the Affair by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Holy shit, you guys, Taylor Jenkins Reid just announced this month she just dropped a new short story on Amazon for Amazon Prime users. So I have Amazon Prime, so I downloaded it immediately. If you have the Amazon Kindle app, you can download this and read it now. It's free. So good, and it takes place in like the 1970s, and it follows this like couple. It's all told in letters, so it's really cool because for a short story format I feel like this works really well. And so it follows this couple who they think their spouse is cheating on them, so they're sending letters back and forth to each other about their spouses cheating on each other. So it's like the girl in the relationship and then the dude in the other relationship are sending letters back and forth, and then they send the letters that they found that their spouses sent to each other, and then you get to see those letters too, and it's just like so cute. It's such a cool story concept. I felt so much for these characters for how short of a story this was. Like, I'm pretty sure it was only like 50 pages. I was just so impressed, and I loved it so much, and like Taylor Jenkins Reid remains as one of my favorite authors. I just love her writing so much. I love how you can tell that this book takes place in the Taylor universe because she mentions Daisy Jones in this book, and you know that's her next book, Daisy Jones and the Six. So fucking cute. I love when authors do that. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And look at that cover. Isn't it just the cutest? It's so cute. The 8th book that I read this month is The Book of Essie by Megan McClan Weir. And this is like a contemporary story. It follows this family who's like reality TV show family. Kind of like the Kardashians, but like religious. Their dad is the preacher, and then all the kids, like their reality show is called 6 for Hicks. And then it's like the 6 kids of Hicks, which is her dad. Essie is the youngest daughter out of all the 6 kids, and the story starts when she finds out that she's pregnant and she's only 17, and her family literally goes into full panic mode because they don't want to deal with like a huge media scandal because she's only 17 years old and she's pregnant. You know, they're religious, so like they can't just get rid of it because they don't believe in abortion, obviously. You know, I don't normally read books that revolve around religion because I am not a religious person myself, and it usually just makes me kind of uncomfortable to read books that deal heavily with religion. This one was really entertaining though because of the reality TV show aspect and how this family is kept in the eye of the public. I don't know why, I just realized about myself that I really like reading books about celebrity type characters dealing with scandals in the media. Like, I don't know why, it's the most entertaining shit to me. This book got a lot darker than I was expecting it to, and there are some trigger warnings for things like abuse and rape and just like really dark stuff that I was not expecting this book to go there. It follows 3 point of views. So it follows Essie's point of view, and then Rourke's point of view, and then Liberty's point of view. And to be honest, I feel like Liberty's point of view was completely pointless. Liberty is the journalist that's gonna help Essie tell her story, but like I didn't see the point to have a point of view from Liberty. Like, and I found myself skimming through those chapters just to get back to Essie's chapters and Rourke's chapters. Rourke ended up being one of my favorite characters in this book. He's just so precious and so adorable, and I just loved him. Okay, I liked it more than I thought I was gonna like it, and it was just really sad and intense, so I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. So the 9th book I read this month is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. This is one that I also listened to the audiobook for, and this is one that I've been wanting to read for years because her other book, Little Fires Everywhere, is like one of my favorite books of the year and one of my favorite books of all time. So I've been dying to get my hands on her first book, this one. Oh my god, you guys, this one was also so good, and it's like, it follows a Chinese American family in the 1970s, and it follows Marilyn and James Lee. Their oldest daughter dies in a lake. Like, they find her body drowned in a lake and they're trying to figure out what happened. But the story isn't really like a mystery thriller. Like, I think some people assume that this is a mystery thriller, but it's really just a very character-driven, character study type story about this family that's like a broken family, and you get to see their lives like in flashbacks of like when the parents met, all these things like leading up to the event of Lydia dying. And so it's like a really beautiful character study type story, and I just love the way Celeste Ng writes. Like, her writing is so fucking beautiful. Her characters are so real. Like, her characters feel so real to me. I just felt so much for this family, and I was like crying at the end. I was just a mess over this book, and it was just so beautiful. And I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't love it as much as Little Fires Everywhere, but I still really think that this one is very powerful and very important and just amazing. And it covers a lot of really intense topics like interracial relationships and gender and racism and, you know, loss and grief and family and just like anything you can think of probably. It's amazing. Alright, and the last 10th book that I read this month is When Katy Met Cassidy. This is a female-female romance that follows these 2 girls, Katy and Cassidy, and they meet in an office when she unexpectedly like doesn't expect the other like big boss to be a female. Unfortunately, this writing is just so cliche, and these characters are such stereotypical characters because it's like, of course, one of the girls is like, I'm straight, and then the other girl is like, no, you're not. And then it's like, she just takes her to like a lesbian bar, and then the other character, like the straight girl character, is so judgy, and she's like surprised that the girls in the lesbian bar actually look like women. Like, she actually says that line. She kept emphasizing how the other like lesbian girls are not her people. Oh my god, Katy. Like, she's just so judgy and annoying in this book, and so unfortunately I didn't really enjoy this one, and I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars, and I'm just like, where the fuck are all the female romances that are decent out there? Like, why do they all suck? It was a it was a very disappointing read, unfortunately, and I was fooled by this cute cover, it was just so cute. Those are all the books that I read in September. I'm sorry for any background noise that you heard in this video. I tried to talk when people weren't mowing their lawns, but you know, it's Saturday, that's all people want to do right now, so I'm very sorry about that. Anyways, what was the best book you read in September? Have you read any of these books that I just mentioned? If you have, what are your thoughts on them? And what was the worst book that you read in September? I think my personal favorite book that I read this month was Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time.